You know, when I was a very young boy, finishing state school, my father went to see my 6th grade teacher. And my father wanted to ask the teacher, should I go on to a high school or should I go on to a tech school? There were tech schools then where I could train for a trade. In other words, you know, what did he think the best path for me was? And the teacher said, look, I think you'd be okay at high school, but if you went to tech school and he did printing, he then became an apprentice printer. He would be set for life. It was the king of the trades, right? And so I didn't do that. My father decided I should go to high school. And I went on and eventually I did a degree, but I became a journalist. And I can remember when I first started in 1970, newspapers were king. Yes, there was television news, but we had 400 people doing the news. The television news stations, including the ABC, had a handful of people covering the news. They basically took stuff from the newspapers. And we thought, of course, this would last forever. Frankly, it lasted for the whole of my career, the whole of my life, even though towards the end of my time, we at the Age, when I was editor, we set up our first online news service. And, you know, we put people on that news service who we felt like we couldn't really news on the paper anymore, which was not true. They were good people, most of them. And what the leader of it was a total convert to online, who kept coming into my office and saying, this is the future, we're not doing enough. And he was right, of course. Dog is another word that immediately brings back memories of all the dogs that I've had. But the main memory it brings back is of the dog I've got now, called Rocky. I wrote a book about Rocky and me. I think dogs have been incredibly important in my life in all sorts of ways, in terms of the constancy of the companionship, in terms of understanding how constant affection can be, how it can be selfless. It's not always about love. It's not always about what you get back, but what you give. Melbourne, Melbourne is the city in which I grew up. The first thought that came into my head when you said the word Melbourne was that I have affection, great affection. I had a feeling immediately of this is a place for which I have great affection. It is the place of memories. I can walk around many parts of Melbourne and have experiences of what I did at different times in these places. Not every place, but quite a number of places, because I've lived in a number of different places in Melbourne. So it is a place, firstly, of memories. It's almost like, you know how there is music that brings back memories of your past, especially your childhood. Well, Melbourne brings back those sorts of memories. And often I have, less recently, basically because of the pandemic, I have gone to check out places where I lived, especially places where I lived when I was a child. They're not the same, but I can stand in front of what is now a totally different house, and I can look at it and I can remember vividly what my life was like there, not just the look of the house, but things that happened in this house.